Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 2 of the anime series, Big Euphonium Season 2. And I gotta say, this was a revelatory episode, to say the least, mind-boggling, and not least of which because I was really shocked and surprised that they pretty much gave us, for all intents and purposes, a fan-servicey girls in swimsuits going out to the pool, Bond Festival kind of scenario in a show like Sound Euphonium, of all things. They managed to survive the entire first season of this show without ever going anywhere near anything like that. And at first glance, I mean, girls scantily clad, prowling around. It sounds like, light and fluffy, and that's all you're going to get. But damn if you didn't get a ton of gravitas and depth in that entire sequence, especially relating to Kumiko questioning Nozomi about her past. I mean, these were the revelations that just astounded me, because I was under the sort of specious impression after watching the first episode of the season that Nozomi was effectively one of these characters who walked out of band class probably a troublemaker, probably taking things loosely, not taking things very seriously. And, like you have Reina basically saying, well, Asuka Senpai is right for not wanting her back under that impression. None of these girls know exactly what happened, as I touched upon in my first episode discussion video for this season. So they can't really, they have to question in order to fill in the blanks. And Kumiko, very much to, answering to my speculation, is somewhat sympathetic of Nozomi and wanting to understand and having a conversation with her to try to wrap her mind around what it could possibly be, what the falling out was represented between she and Asuka Senpai that would make her deny Nozomi's returning, coming back, getting involved. And again, that impression lingered where I was like, well, why did she walk out? You very much get the sense when you're seeing Mizori, who is the other Minami Middle School, character, who was newly debuted and very Reina-esque in how seriously she's taking the whole band thing. You see that there is a bond between she and Nozomi in a similar fashion to Reina and Kumiko, and they're promising each other, as we saw in the flashback in the first episode, as well as this episode, that they were going to go for gold together. They were going to try to support each other and be on that journey together. And I really was under that impression that, Nozomi really didn't take it as seriously. What was probably fears and what was probably reluctance, and as we find out, we have answered in this episode, it was actually the third years, while they were the second years that, created this falling out, the third years were the ones who were not taking it seriously. And Nozomi was actually an entire counterpoint to what I expected her to be, based on what we were, what information we were being told in that first episode. She was very much taking being a flutist seriously. She wanted to go for gold. She really wanted to pour her heart into just doing the best she could, learning her instrument, playing the pieces, going into competition mode. And it was the third years that were a-holes for all intents and purposes. And that just astounded me. And again, to have this sort of light, fluffy, fan-servicey way this episode begins, you have Kumiko lamenting the fact that Reina is so well endowed and, will she ever get bigger, bigger bust and all this kind of stuff. More typical anime kind of things. To have that sort of be the precursor, the prologue to such depth in conversation and revelation between she and Nozomi just blew my mind, blew my ever-loving mind. And again, much as I say I speculated, Kumiko is very sympathetic and wants to approach Asuka Senpai to find out if there's any way to sort of, fix things between them. And she's got an uphill battle, I think. But it's really intriguing to me, too, because toward the end of the episode, you see Kumiko and Mizori have some time together. And Mizori's whole outlook has shifted to really disdaining the entire idea of doing this for competition rather than doing it for fun. It was something she wanted to strive toward and aspire toward with Nozomi alongside her until Nozomi bowed out because of the third years who wouldn't take it seriously. Here she is now because the competition aspect of it made everything fall apart back then. She hates it. She loathes it. She is very scathing toward it because this was the thing that broke up her friendship with Nozomi. This was the thing that so pained her and caused everything to come crashing down. And so, I mean, part of me is like really hoping somehow Kumiko can be the bridging between these three characters and help them all become friends again, help them all understand each other again and see where they're all coming from, where they've evolved to, and find that flavor and that passion for the music again. Music soothes the mortal soul. And if they can't somehow reach an amends, I'm going to be so sad, because the potential these characters have between themselves, singularly for their individual selves as well as together as a unity, is just astounding. What they can be capable of if they can only open their minds and sort of retread the old paths and build new ones across those bridges. Just, man, And of course, somewhat, more comical, do we have that whole idea of Reina being jealous or like spacing out because Taki-sensei has a new sensei he brings in once again, much like he did Hashimoto-sensei in the last episode. For the percussion, do we have Niiyama-sensei? For the woodwinds, a very well-endowed young woman, much closer in age to Taki-sensei, and of course Reina is just losing it. She's like, is Taki-sensei, is that what he wants? Is that the kind of woman, someone closer in age and, all this kind of stuff, looking good, all this kind of stuff. And you have Kumiko, she's harboring some level of jealousy, as we saw, because of how well-endowed Reina is for her age and how mature she does seem to act and all this kind of stuff. Kumiko is somewhat a little more loose with the way she behaves, and especially in the first season, when she was still mulling over, do I want to even be involved in playing the Euphonium? Do I even want to be involved in band? On that road to evolving to this point, having that strengthened bond between she and Reina, was she kind of mouthing off every now and then? And we get little snips of that in this season too so far, but not as much. She is maturing and she is growing, but she's of course looking at the physical attributes that Reina represents, much in a similar way as Reina is Niiyama-sensei. So you have sort of comical, real-world interpretations of what girls in school really go through, comparing themselves against others and their contemporaries, all that kind of stuff, as well as their elders. But you also have this just heartfelt drama that is tugging at my heartstrings to see Kumiko somehow manage to, hopefully for the better, create new bonds where the old ones pre-existed between Nozomi, Mizori, and Asuka-senpai. We see that she is going to confront Asuka at the end of this episode, and I can't wait to see what kind of, eruption happens in that aspect, in that conversation to come. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've seen episode 2 of Hibike Euphonium Season 2, what you thought of the episode overall, if you were mind-boggled by all the fan servicey elements, if you still stuck with it and you were just, tantamount moved by all of that weighty, revelatory stuff going on with Nozomi and Mizori, and Kumiko stuck in the middle, hopefully trying to piece those broken puzzle pieces back together in some fashion. Anything goes in the comments below. Love or to hate it. Just love having that conversation. And so, yeah. Otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.